I think the design of the Infernals is genius. First things first, they are Stormgate's Zerg, and they fix some flaws in the core design of the faction and make them easier to play and play against. Frost Giant did this by putting what the Queens did into other systems or got rid of the reasons the Queens were needed. Let's begin with the unit production. Zerg get their units from larvae, which spawn from hatches. But those only can have 3 larvae at a time naturally. That is where the queens come into play. You inject the hatches with the queens for more larvae, which is done manually by the player and increases the need for micro throughout the match and increases the longer it goes and the more bases you have. The injections need energy on the queens and are with that on and cool down. You can save up larvae and build a lot of units at once. The Infernals, on the other hand, set up buildings for the units they want to use. The units themselves spawn instantly and have a stacking cooldown. This means you can save up your cooldowns for a unit, and can build an entire army in the blink of an eye. Of course, this works best if you have several buildings which produce your units, just like all other factions do. Interesting will be how many cooldowns you can stack. The main differences between the Infernals and the Zerg are the need for queens and their injections to have proper unit production. With that, they have a way higher demand on the player to use APM just to be ready to produce units, compared to the Infernals. The Infernals, on the other hand, just get their buildings going and are set. They do not have any need for the player to pay attention to any cooldowns on their buildings or an additional unit. The next thing would be creep. The function of creep is to give a movement speed bonus to Zerg units and to grand vision. For that, the player needs to spread the creep with tumors, which also is partly the job of the queens. Those tumors are invisible for enemy players when finished. The creep mechanic got completely removed. The Infernals got a different mechanic called Shroud that grants an additional health bar to their units and enemy infernal units. This shroud is getting produced by their main building and a defensive tower. The tower is the replacement for the tumors of the Zerg and not only functions as an defensive tool, but also grants spells that can be manually used. It also can build a strong air unit. The visibility bonus that the creep tumors give got replaced by general game design with visibility camps. This way the Infernals have the same options for map vision as all other factions. The last special ability of the Queens is a heal. The Infernals can heal themselves by eating the creeps that spawn by their meat farms, which are used to increase their maximum unit supply and as a defensive measure. This is on top of the shroud around their main buildings and the towers giving them their white health. Those changes made not only playing the Infernals easier, but also playing against them. The amount of APM you need to play them got reduced significantly, and as their enemy, you do not need detection for invisible creep tumors, because everything can just attack a very obvious tower that shoots at you. Also very important is that when you are playing the Infernals, you don't get punished for not spending your resources. This is due to the cooldown mechanic in their unit production, making them very beginner-friendly. While as a Zerg player you have to jump between your bases, injecting the hatches, spread your creep and keeping an eye on your enemy, which gets harder the more bases you have. Just imagine playing a game where you have half the map and jump between 8 bases, while moving your army around. Even I got to a point where I had over 200 APM on the end screen of a match without spamming APM, which means my APM went up the longer a match lasted. The design of the Infernals lowers this requirement drastically and makes them way beginner-friendlier. These are the reason why I believe the design of the Infernals is genius. Take all the good things of the Zerg and make them easier to use, while at the same time getting rid of unnecessary things that made them hard to play.